Extremely stupid people look at women without having corrected the prejudice that women are objects of sexual greed. This is Buddhist Books Podcast, episode 288, Zen Buddhism, part 12, in which we will continue reading Dogen's Shobogenzo, a collection of Eihei Dōgen's writings and transcribed lectures from the 1240s, mostly. If you would like to start at the beginning of the Zen Buddhism playlist here on Buddhist Books Podcast, you can do so by clicking right there. And now, without further ado, let's get to today's reading. Raihai-Tokuzui, meaning prostrating to attainment of the Marrow. Now, first we're going to hear just briefly a paragraph from Gudo Nishijima and or Chodo Cross, explaining briefly what we're going to read, and then we'll read it. Raihai means to prostrate oneself. Toku means to get or to attain, and Zui means marrow. So, Raihai-Tokuzui means prostrating oneself to the attainment of the marrow. In other words, revering what has got the truth. In this chapter, Master Dogen preached to us that the value of a being must be decided according to whether or not it has got the truth. So he said, even if it is a child, a woman, a devil, or an animal like a wild fox, if it has got the truth, we must revere it wholeheartedly. In this attitude, we can find Master Dogen's sincere reverence of the truth and his view of men, women, and animals. Okay, now I'm reading the English translation of the words of Eihei Dōgen. In practicing the state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, the most difficult thing is to find a guiding teacher. Though beyond appearances, such as those of a man or a woman, the guiding teacher should be a big, stout fellow. Footnote, or great stout fellow, was originally a concept in Confucianism suggesting a man of Confucian virtue. The word was later used in Chinese Buddhism, meaning someone who has trained perfectly. In modern Japanese, daijobu is commonly used as an adjective meaning all right. A big stout fellow. Okay. And should be someone ineffable. Footnote. Master Ungo Doyo, quoted in chapter 29, Inmo says, quote, if you want to attain the matter of the ineffable, you must have become someone ineffable, end quote. There's a lot of footnotes. I'm not going to read all of them, but sometimes I might stop to read a footnote. They can get distracting if we read them all. He is not a person of the past and present, but may be a good counselor with the spirit of a wild fox. often suggests criticism that a person's state is too mystical, not practical enough, but in this case it suggests the presence of something natural and mystical. It's the footnote. Okay. These are the features of someone who has got the marrow. He may be a guide and a benefactor. He is never unclear about cause and effect. He may be you, me, him or her. Having met with a guiding teacher, we should throw away myriad involvements and, without wasting a moment of time, we should strive in pursuit of the truth. We should train with consciousness. We should train without consciousness. And we should train with semi-consciousness. Thus, we should learn walking on tiptoes. Footnote, holding up the feet literally. Legend says the Buddha naturally walked on tiptoes. To learn walking on tiptoes means to learn how to behave like the Buddha. Okay. To put out a fire on our head, the symbol of sincere behavior. When we behave like this, we are unharmed by abusive demons. The patriarch who cuts off an arm and gets the marrow is never another, and the master who gets free of body and mind is ourself already. So Master Taiso Eka cut off part of his arm to show sincerity to Master Bodhidharma. They're the second and first patriarchs of Zen Buddhism or Chan Buddhism, counting from Bodhidharma, not counting from Mahakasyapa, but anyway. And getting free of body and mind was an expression commonly used by Master Tendo Nyojo, Master Dogen's master. Okay, believe it or not, I'm actually skipping most of the footnotes. Getting the marrow and receiving the Dharma invariably come from sincerity and from belief. There is no example of sincerity coming from outside. There is no way for sincerity to emerge from within. Sincerity just means attaching weight to the Dharma and thinking light of one's own body. In general, when he says just, I tend to take it from what I've gathered. He means exactly, not the way we use it in English where we say, oh, it's just Larry. Oh, don't worry, that's just this. He's not saying it like that. He's saying it is just Larry. It is exactly Larry, none other. Does that make sense? Okay. It is to get free from the secular world and to make one's home the state of truth. If we attach even slightly more weight to self-regard for the body than to the Dharma is not transmitted to us. And we do not attain the truth. Those resolute spirits who attach greater weight to the Dharma are not unique, and they do not depend upon the exhortation of others. But let us take up, for the present, one or two instances. It is said that those who attach weight to the Dharma will make the body and mind into a seat on the floor, and will serve for countless kalpas, whatever is maintaining and relying upon the great Dharma. Whatever has got my marrow, whether it is an outdoor pillar, whether it is a stone lantern, whether it is the Buddhas, whether it is a wild dog, a demon, or a god, a man or a woman. Got my marrow means Master Bodhidharma's marrow. Bodies and minds are easily received. They are as common in the world as rice, flax, bamboo, and reeds. The Dharma is rarely met. Sakyamuni Buddha says, quote, "When you meet teachers who expound the supreme state of Bodhi, have no regard for their race or caste. Do not notice their looks. Do not dislike their faults, and do not examine their deeds. Only because you revere their prana, let them eat hundreds and thousands of pounds of gold every day. Serve them by presenting heavenly food. Serve them by scattering heavenly flowers. Do prostrations and venerate them 3 times every day. And never let anxiety or annoyance arise in your mind. When we behave like this, there is always a way to the state of Bodhi. Since I established the mind, I have been practicing like this. And so today I have been able to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi." End quote. This being so, we should hope that even trees and stones might preach to us. And we should request that even fields and villages might preach to us. We should question outdoor pillars. And we should investigate even fences and walls. There is the ancient example of the god Indra prostrating himself to a wild dog as his master, and asking it about the Dharma. His fame as a great bodhisattva has been transmitted. Fitness to be asked does not rest upon the relative nobility of one's station. Nevertheless, stupid people who do not listen to the Buddha's Dharma think, quote, "I am a senior bhiksu. I cannot prostrate myself to a junior who has got the Dharma. I have endured long training. I cannot prostrate myself to a recent student who has got the Dharma. I sign my name with the title of Master. I cannot prostrate myself to someone who does not have the title of Master. I am an administrator of Dharma affairs. I cannot prostrate myself to lesser monks who have got the Dharma. I am the chief administrator of monks. I cannot prostrate myself to laymen and laywomen who have got the Dharma. I am a bodhisattva of the 3 clever stages and 10 sacred stages. I cannot prostrate myself to bhikshunis and other women, even if they have got the Dharma. I am of royal pedigree. I cannot prostrate myself to the family of a retainer or to the lineage of a minister, even if they have got the Dharma." End quote. Stupid people like these have heedlessly fled their father's kingdom and are wandering on the roads of foreign lands. Therefore, they neither see nor hear the Buddha's truth. Long ago, in the Tang dynasty, great Master Shinsai of Joshu established the mind and set off as a wayfarer. In the story, he says, quote, "I shall question anyone who is superior to me, even a child of 7, and I shall teach anyone who is inferior to me, even a man of 100. End quote. The old man is willing to prostrate himself on asking a 7-year-old about the Dharma. This is a rare example of a resolute spirit. and the working of the mind of an eternal Buddha. When a bhikkhuni who has got the truth, a nun, and got the Dharma, manifests herself in the world, bhikkhus, monks, who seek the Dharma and learn and practice will devote themselves to her order, prostrating themselves and asking about the Dharma. This is an excellent example of learning in practice. For instance, it is like the thirsty finding drink. The Chinese Zen master Shikan is a venerable patriarch in Rinzai's lineage. Once upon a time, Rinzai sees the master coming to visit and holds on to him. The master says, quote, "It is understood." End quote. Rinzai lets go and says, quote, "I will allow you to stop for a while." End quote. From this point on, he has already become Rinzai's disciple. He leaves Rinzai and goes to Matsuzan, nun master Matsuzan Ryonin, successor of master Koan Daigu. Okay. At which time Matsuzan asks him, quote, "Where have you come from?" End quote. The master says, quote, "The entrance of the road." End quote. Matsuzan says, quote, "Why have you come here without anything on?" End quote. Suggests that it's sometimes better to be polite than to give a terse Zen answer. Why haven't you come here covering yourself? Interesting. Okay. The master has no words. He just prostrates himself, bowing as disciple to a teacher. The master asks a question back to Matsuzan. Quote, "Just what is Matsuzan?" End quote. Matsuzan says, quote, "Never shows a peak." End quote. The master says, quote, "Just who is the person within the mountain?" End quote. Matsuzan says, quote, "It is beyond appearances, such as those of a man or a woman." End quote. The master says, quote, "Then why do you not change your form?" End quote. Matsuzan says, quote, "I am not the ghost of a wild fox. What might I change?" End quote. The master prostrates himself. Eventually, he decides to work as the head of the vegetable garden and works there altogether for 3 years. Later, when he has manifested himself in the world, he preaches to the assembly. Quote, "I got half a dipper at old Papa Rinzai's place, and I got half a dipper at old Mama Matsuzan's place, making a dipper with both halves. I have finished drinking, and having arrived directly at the present, I am completely satisfied." End quote. Hearing these words now, I look back on the traces of those days with veneration for the past. Matsuzan is an excellent disciple of Koan Daigu. She has the power in her lifeblood, and so she has become Shikan's Ma. Rinzai is an authentic successor of Obaku Kyun. He has power in his efforts, and so he has become Shikan's Pa. Pa means father, and Ma means mother. Oh, okay. Dogen is explaining the meaning of the Chinese characters Ya and Jo using the Japanese phonetic alphabet. Okay, that makes sense. Zen Master Shikan's prostration to and pursuit of the Dharma under the nun Matsuzan Ryonin are an excellent example of a resolute spirit and integrity that students of later ages should emulate. We can say that he broke all barriers, large and small. Nun Myoshin is a disciple of Kyōzan. Kyōzan, on one occasion, is choosing the chief of the business office. He asks around the retired officers and others on Kyōzan Mountain, quote, "Who is the right person?" End quote. They discuss it back and forth. And eventually Kyōzan says, quote, "Disciple Myoshin from the Wai River, though a woman, has the spirit of a big stout fellow. She is certainly qualified to be chief of the business office." This office was for dealing with lay people such as government officials, merchants, and donors. The building was usually located lower down the mountain than the main temple buildings. All the monks agree. So at length Myoshin is assigned as chief of the business office. The dragons and elephants in Kyōzan's order do not resent this. Though the position is in fact not so grand, the one selected for it might need to love herself. While she is posted at the business office, 17 monks from the Shoku district form a group to visit teachers and seek the truth, and, intending to climb Kyōzan Mountain, they lodge at dusk at the business office. In a nighttime talk, while resting, they discuss the story of the founding patriarch, Sokei, and the wind and the flag. Two monks are having a discussion. One monk says the flag is moving. The other monk says the wind is moving. Master Daikon Eno says, "The wind is not moving and the flag is not moving. You are moving mind." Okay, that's what that was a reference to. The words of each of the 17 men are totally inadequate. Meanwhile, listening from the other side of the wall, the chief of the business office says, quote, "Those 17 blind donkeys, how many straw sandals have they worn out in vain? They have never seen the Buddha Dharma even in a dream." End quote. A temple servant present at the time overhears the chief of the business office criticizing the monks and informs the 17 monks themselves. But none of the 17 monks resents the criticism of the chief of the business office. Ashamed of their own inability to express the truth, they at once prepare themselves in the dignified form, burn incense, do prostrations, and request her teaching. The chief of the business office says, "Come up here." The 17 monks approach her, and while they are still walking, the chief of the business office says, quote, "This is not wind moving. This is not a flag moving. This is not mind moving." End quote. When she teaches them like this, the 17 monks all experience reflection. They bow to thank her and have the ceremony to become her disciples. Then they go straight back home to Western Shoku. In the end, they do not climb Kyōzan Mountain. Truly, the state demonstrated here is beyond bodhisattvas at the 3 clever stages and 7 sacred stages. It is action in the truth as transmitted by Buddhist patriarchs from authentic successor to authentic successor. Therefore, even today, when a post as master or assistant master is vacated, a bhikkhuni who has got the Dharma may be requested to fill it. Even if a bhikkhu is senior in years and experience, if he has not got the Dharma, what importance does he have? A leader of monks must always rely upon clear eyes. Yet many leaders are drowning. in the body and mind of a village bumpkin. They are so dense that they are prone to be derided even in the secular world. How much less do they deserve to be mentioned in the Buddha Dharma? Moreover, there may be men who would refuse to prostrate themselves to women monks who are teachers that have received the Dharma, and who are the men's elder sisters, aunts, and so on. Because they do not know and will not learn, they are close to animals, and far from the Buddhist patriarchs. When the sole devotion of body and mind to the Dharma, to the Buddha Dharma, is retained deep in a person's consciousness, the Buddha Dharma always has compassion for the person. Even human beings and gods, in their stupidity, have the sympathy to respond to sincerity. So how could the Buddhas, in their rightness, lack the compassion to reciprocate sincerity? The sublime spirit which responds to sincerity exists even in soil, stones, sand, and pebbles. In the temples of the great kingdom of Sung today, if a resident bhikkhuni is reputed to have got the Dharma, the government issues an imperial edict for her to be appointed master of a nun's temple, and she gives formal preaching in the Dharma hall of her present temple. All the monks, from the master down, attend the formal preaching. They listen to the Dharma, standing on the ground, and questions are also put by the bhikkhus, the male monks. This is a traditional standard. A person who has got the Dharma is one individual, true eternal Buddha, here and now, and as such should not be met as someone from the past. When that person looks at us, we meet each other in a new and singular state. When we look at that person, the mutual relation may be today having to enter today. For example, when arhats, pratyeka Buddhas, and bodhisattvas at the 3 clever and 10 sacred stages come to a bhikkhuni who is retaining the transmission of the right Dharma eye treasury, to prostrate themselves and ask her about Dharma, she must receive these prostrations. Why should men be higher? Space is space. The 4 elements are the 4 elements. The 5 aggregates are the 5 aggregates. And women are also like this. As regards attainment of the truth, both men and women attain the truth. And we should just profoundly revere every single person who has attained the Dharma. Do not discuss man and woman. This is one of Buddhism's finest Dharma standards. Unless you read the Tipitaka. Dōgen. In Sung Dynasty China, the term householder refers to gentlemen who have not left their families. Some of them live in houses with their wives, while others are single and pure. But anyway, we can say that they are immensely busy with dusty toil. Nevertheless, if one of them has clarified something, patch-robed monks gather to do prostration and to ask for the benefit of his teaching, as to a master who had left home. We also should be like that, even towards a woman, even towards an animal. When a person has never seen the truths of the Buddha Dharma, even in a dream, even if he is an old bhikkhu of 100 years, he cannot arrive at the level of a man or a woman who has got the Dharma. so we should not venerate such a person, but need only bow to him as junior to senior. When a person practices the Buddha Dharma and speaks the Buddha Dharma, even if a girl of 7, she is just the guiding teacher of the 4 groups and the benevolent father of all living beings. We should serve and venerate her as we do the Buddha Tathagatas, and as it was, for example, when the dragon's daughter became a Buddha. That sounds like an interesting footnote. See Lotus Sutra 2.24. Oh, okay. Something to look forward to when we finish the Tipitaka. This is just the time-honored form in Buddhism. Those who do not know about it and who have not received its one-to-one transmission are pitiful. Another case. Since the ancient past in Japan and China, there have been women emperors. The whole country is the possession of such an empress, and all the people become her subjects. This is not out of reverence for her person, but out of reverence for her position. Likewise, a bhikkhuni has never been revered for her person, but is revered solely for her attainment of the Dharma. Furthermore, the virtues which accompany the 4th effect all belong to a bhikkhuni who has become an arhat. Even these virtues accompany her. What human being or God could hope to surpass these virtues of the 4th effect? Gods of the triple world are all inferior to her. While being forsaken by human beings, she is venerated by all the gods. How much less should anyone fail to venerate those who have received the transmission of the Tathagata's right Dharma and who have established the great will of a bodhisattva? If we fail to venerate such a person, it is our own wrongness. And if we fail to revere our own supreme state of Bodhi, we are stupid people who insult the Dharma. Again, there are in our country daughters of emperors, or ministers' daughters, who become queens consort, or queens who are titled with the names of temples. Some of them have shaved their head, and some of them do not shave their head. In any case, priests who only look like bhikkhus and who crave fame and love gain never fail to run to the house of such a woman and strike their head at her clogs. They are far inferior to serfs following a lord. Moreover, many of them actually become her servants for a period of years. How pitiful they are. Having been born in a minor nation in a remote land, they do not even know a bad custom like this for what it is. There was never such ignorance in India and China, but only in our country. It is lamentable. Forcedly to shave the head and then to violate the Tathagata's right Dharma must be called deep and heavy sin. Solely because they forget that worldly ways are dreams and illusion, flowers in space. They are bonded in slavery to women. It is lamentable. Even for the sake of a trifling secular livelihood, they act like this. Why, for the sake of the supreme Bodhi, do they fail to venerate the venerable ones who have got the Dharma? It is because their awe for the Dharma is shallow, and their will to pursue the Dharma is not pervasive. When people are already coveting a treasure, they do not think about refusing it just because it is the treasure of a woman. When we want to get the Dharma, we must surpass such resolve. If it is so, even grass, trees, fences, and walls will bestow the right Dharma. And the heavens and the earth, myriad things and phenomena, will also impart the right Dharma. This is a truth which we must always remember. Before we seek the Dharma with this determination, even if we meet true good counselors, we will not be soaked by the benevolent water of Dharma. We should pay careful attention to this. Furthermore, nowadays, extremely stupid people look at women without having corrected the prejudice that women are objects of sexual greed. Disciples of the Buddha must not be like this. If whatever may become the object of sexual greed is to be hated, do not all men deserve to be hated too? As regards the causes and conditions of becoming tainted, a man can be the object, a woman can be the object, what is neither man nor woman can be the object, and dreams and fantasies, flowers and space can also be the object. There have been impure acts done with a reflection on water as an object. And there have been impure acts done with the sun in the sky as an object. A god can be the object, and a demon can be the object. It is impossible to count all the possible objects. They say that there are 84,000 objects. Should we discard all of them? Should we not look at them? The precepts say, quote, abuse of the 2 male organs or the 3 female organs are both parajika, and the offender may not remain in the community. End quote. This being so, if we hate whatever might become the object of sexual greed, all men and women will hate each other, and we will never have any chance to attain salvation. We should examine this truth in detail. There are non-Buddhists who have no wife. Even though they have no wife, they have not entered the Buddha Dharma, and so they are only non-Buddhists with wrong views. There are disciples of the Buddha, as the 2 classes of lay people have a husband or a wife. Even though they have a husband or a wife, they are disciples of the Buddha. And so there are no other beings equal to them in the human world or in heaven above. Even in China, there was a stupid monk who made the following vow. Quote, through every life, in every age, I shall never look at a woman. End quote. Upon what morality is this vow based? Is it based on secular morality? Is it based on the Buddha Dharma? Is it based on the morality of non-Buddhists? Or is it based on the morality of heavenly demons? What wrong is there in a woman? What virtue is there in a man? Among bad people, there are men who are bad people. Among good people, there are women who are good people. Wanting to hear the Dharma and wanting to get liberation never depend upon whether we are a man or a woman. When they have yet to cut delusion, men and women alike have yet to cut delusion. When they cut delusion and experience the principle, there is nothing at all to choose between a man and a woman. Moreover, if a man has vowed never to look at a woman, must he discard women even when vowing to save limitlessly many living beings? If he discards them, he is not a bodhisattva. How much less Does he have the Buddha's compassion? This vow is just a drunken utterance caused by deep intoxication on the wine of the Shravaka. Neither human beings nor gods should believe this vow to be true. Furthermore, if we hate others for the wrongs they have committed in the past, we must hate all bodhisattvas. If we hate like this, we will discard everyone. So how will we be able to recognize the Buddha Dharma? Words like those of the monk's vow are the deranged speech of a stupid man who does not know the Buddha Dharma. We should feel sorry for him. If that monk's vow is true, did Sakyamuni and the bodhisattvas of his time all commit wrongs? And was their bodhi mind less profound than the will of that monk? We should reflect on this quietly. We should learn in practice whether the ancestral masters who transmitted the treasury of Dharma and the bodhisattvas of the Buddha's lifetime had things to learn in the Buddha Dharma without this vow. If the vow of that monk were true, not only would we fail to serve women, but also when a woman who had got the Dharma manifested herself in the world and preached the Dharma for human beings and gods, we would be forbidden to come and listen to her, would we not? Anyone who did not come and listen would not be a bodhisattva, but just a non-Buddhist. When we look now at the great kingdom of Sung, there are monks who seem to have been in training for a long time, but who have only been vainly counting the sands of the ocean and rolling like surf over the ocean of life and death. There are also those who, although women, have visited good counselors, made effort in pursuit of the truth, and thus become the guiding teachers of human beings and gods. There are women such as the old woman who wouldn't sell her rice cakes to Tokuzan and threw her rice cakes away. It was pitiful that although Tokuzan was a male monk, a bhiksu, he had been vainly counting the sands of the ocean of philosophy and had never seen the Buddha Dharma, even in a dream. In general, we should learn to understand clearly whatever circumstances we meet. If we learn only to fear and to flee from circumstances, that is the theory and practice of a Shravaka of the small vehicle. When we abandon the East and try to hide away in the West is also not without its circumstances. Even if we think that we have escaped circumstances, unless we understand them clearly, though they may be distant, they are still circumstances. We are still not in the state of liberation, and the distant circumstances will disturb us more and more deeply. Again, in Japan, there is one particularly laughable institution. This is either called a sanctuary or called a place for practicing the truth of the great vehicle, where bhikshunis and other women are not allowed to enter. The wrong custom has long been handed down, and so people cannot recognize it for what it is. People who emulate the ancients do not rectify it, and men of wide knowledge give no thought to it, calling it the enactment of people of authority, or terming it the legacy of men of tradition. They never discuss it at all. If one laughed, a person's guts might split. Just who are the so-called people of authority? Are they sages or are they saints? Are they gods or are they devils? Are they bodhisattvas at the 10 sacred stages or are they bodhisattvas at the 3 clever stages? Are they bodhisattvas in the balanced state of truth or are they bodhisattvas in the fine state of truth? Moreover, if old ways should never be reformed, should we refrain from abandoning incessant wandering through life and death? Still more, the great master Shakyamuni is just the supreme right and balanced state of truth itself. And he clarified everything that needs to be clarified. He practiced everything that needs to be practiced. And he liberated all that needs to be liberated. Who today could even approach his level? Yet the Buddha's order, when he was in the world, included all four groups: bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas. It included the 8 kinds of beings, the 37 kinds of beings, and the 84,000 kinds of beings. The formation of the Buddhist order is clearly the Buddhist order itself. So what kind of order has no bhikshunis, has no women, and has no 8 kinds of beings? We should never hope to have so-called sanctuaries which surpass in their purity the Buddhist order of the Tathagata's lifetime, because they are the sphere of heavenly demons. There are no differences in the Dharma form of the Buddhist order, not in this world or in other directions, and not among 1,000 Buddhas of the 3 times, past, present, and future. We should know that an order with a different code is not a Buddhist order. The 4th effect is the ultimate rank. It says here, arhathood, the ultimate state in Hinayana Buddhism. So, enlightenment before bodhisattvas were a thing. Whether in the Mahayana or the Hinayana, the virtues of the ultimate rank are not differentiated. Yet many bhikshunis have experienced the 4th effect. So to what kind of place, whether it is within the triple world or in the Buddha lands of the 10 directions, can a bhikshuni not go? Who could stand in her path? At the same time, the fine state of truth is also the supreme rank. When a woman has thus already become Buddha, is there anything in all directions that she cannot perfectly realize? Who could aim to bar her from passing? She already has virtue that widely illuminates the 10 directions. What meaning can a boundary have? Moreover, would goddesses be barred from passing? Would nymphs be barred from passing? Even goddesses and nymphs are beings that have not yet cut delusion. They are just aimlessly wandering ordinary beings. When they have wrong, they have. When they are without wrong, they are without. Human women and bestial women also, when they have wrong, they have. When they are without wrong, they are without. But who would stand in the way of gods or in the way of deities? Bhikshuni have attended the Buddha's order of the 3 times. They have learned and practiced at the place of the Buddha. If places differ from the Buddha's place and from the Buddha's order, who can believe in them as the Buddha's Dharma? Those who exclude women are just very simple fools who deceive and delude secular people. They are more stupid than a wild dog worrying that its burrow might be stolen by a human being. The Buddha's disciples, whether bodhisattvas or shravakas, have the following ranks: 1st, bhiksu; 2nd, bhikshuni; 3rd, upasaka; and 4th, upasika. These ranks are recognized both in the heavens above and in the human world, and they have long been heard. This being so, those who rank 2nd among the Buddha's disciples are superior to sacred wheel-rolling kings. From the Sanskrit, Chakravarti Raja. In ancient Indian mythology, there are 4 such kings who rule over the 4 continents surrounding Mount Sumeru. They each have a precious wheel, or chakra, I think, right? And superior to Sakra Devanam Indra, there should never be a place where they cannot go. Still less should bhikshunis be ranked alongside kings and ministers of a minor nation in a remote land. But when we look at present places of the truth, which a bhikshuni may not enter, any rustic, boor, farmer, or an old lumberjack can enter at random. Still less would any king, lord, officer, or minister be refused entry. Comparing country bumpkins and bhikshunis in terms of learning of the truth or in terms of attainment of rank, who is superior and who is inferior in conclusion? Whether discussing this according to secular rules or according to the Buddha Dharma, one would think that rustics and boors should not be allowed to go where a bhikshuni might go. The situation in Japan is utterly deranged. Our inferior nation is the first to leave this stain on its history. How pitiful it is. When the eldest daughters of the compassionate father of the triple world came to a small country, they found places where they were barred from going. On the other hand, fellows who live in those places called sanctuaries have no fear of committing the 10 wrongs, and they violate the 10 important precepts one after another. Is it simply that in their world of wrongdoing they hate people who do not do wrong? Still more, a deadly sin is a serious matter indeed. Those who live in sanctuaries may have committed even the deadly sins. We should just do away with such worlds of demons. We should learn the Buddha's moral teaching and should enter the Buddha's world. This naturally may be the way to repay the Buddha's benevolence. Have these traditionalists understood the meaning of a sanctuary, or have they not? From whom have they received their transmission? Who has covered them with the seal of approval? Whatever comes into this great world sanctified by the Buddhas, whether it is the Buddhas, living beings, the earth, or space, will get free of fetters and attachments, and will return to the original state, which is the wonderful Dharma of the Buddhas. This being so, when living beings step once inside this world, they are completely covered by the Buddha's virtue. They have the virtue of refraining from immorality, and they have the virtue of becoming pure and clean. When one direction is sanctified, the whole world of Dharma is sanctified at once. And when one level is sanctified, the whole world of Dharma is sanctified. Sometimes places are sanctified using water. Sometimes places are sanctified using mind. And sometimes places are sanctified using space. For every case, there are traditions which have been transmitted and received, and which we should know. Furthermore, when we are sanctifying an area, after sprinkling nectar and finishing devotional prostrations, in other words, after making the place pure, we recite the following verse. This world and the whole world of Dharma naturally are sanctified, pure and clean. Have the traditionalists and veterans who nowadays usually proclaim sanctuaries understood this meaning, or have they not? I guess they cannot know that the whole world of Dharma is sanctified within the act of sanctification itself. Clearly drunk on the wine of the Shravaka, they consider a small area to be a great world. Let us hope that they will snap out of their habitual drunken delusion, and that they will not violate the wholeness of the great world of the Buddhas. We should prostrate ourselves in veneration of the virtue by which the Buddhas, through acts of salvation and acceptance, cover all living beings with their influence. Who could deny that this prostration is the attainment of the marrow of the truth? Shobogenzo Raihai-Tokuzui, written at Kanondori Kosho Horinji Temple on the day of purity and brightness in the second year of Enno, which is to say the 15th day after spring equinox of 1240 Common Era. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, I love that one. So refreshing. Refreshing to hear. Heartening to hear. Thank you for staying with me through the whole recital. If you haven't already, please feel free to like and subscribe. The call to action. Yeah, I don't know. I could say things about what I've just read, but I fear that whatever I said would take away from his words. I love what I just read. I've quoted, especially the stupid people who flee from the Buddha Dharma part, say, I cannot prostrate myself before someone lowly. I am high. I cannot prostrate before a woman who has the Dharma. But then he also clarified that situation where sometimes, a woman who's like the empress's, whatever, relative will be given the title of woman of such and such temple, and then maybe she shaves her head. And monks who crave fame go and bow before her. Dogen doesn't like that. But if a nun, however lowly, no titles whatsoever, has the Dharma, has the truth, have made contact with that true Buddha nature and teachings and enlightenment, that you should prostrate yourself before her and learn from her. It's good. It's just good. It's so good. All right, I'll go ahead and do our usual closing, and we'll go about our day. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.